All right, let's get serious, Katie. Welcome, you guys, to our monthly State of the Industry meeting for the Xperience Brokerage Network. Katie, I feel like when we first started this, like we launched it, for those of you aren't familiar, right? We launched this during the time of COVID, so we can keep all of our family informed on what is happening. And we named it the State of the Industry, but I feel like now more than ever, that name is completely relevant.
Yeah, we need to know the state of the industry right now.
We do. And we really committed going into 2022 that we would make sure that we would bring you the best stats, information, market updates, etc. So we've got a full lineup today of just that. So we're going to launch into it. Before we do that, we have some celebrating to do. It has been, I forgot to say, we have so many new family members that we should have probably introduced ourselves. So who the heck are we? I am Leslie Hilbert. I am the general manager of the Xperience Brokerage Network, which encompasses 4 amazing Keller Williams market centers here in the state of Oregon and 649 incredible agent brokers throughout the state of Oregon. Katie, who are you?
I am Katie Hardman. I am the Chief Opportunity Officer for the Xperience Brokerage Network, bringing more opportunities and more education and more, all the things, all the opportunities to all of you in our 4 brokerages across the state of Oregon. And the reason that we say all of this is because we are constantly growing and we have a bunch of new family members this month. So I just wanted to recognize these names and these faces and say, welcome. We're so excited to be in business with you. Alex, Ashley, Bree, Brenna, Courtney, Emily, John, Sandy, Tim, and Tristan. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody, all 77 of you for being here. We're honored to be in business with you.
And Katie, in addition to welcoming a ton of new family members over the last month, I think we have to give a shout out to our leaders and our agents from across the network, because this month we also officially opened the doors on our brand new remodeled building in Medford. So we are open for business. It is beautiful. We are so excited to welcome our KW family back into the market center. We also did our grand reopening at our Sunset Corridor location after our full remodel and had an epic experiential party. And we finished the remodel in our Salem Capital City Market Center. Party planning underway for the grand opening scheduled for November 4th. So we covered a lot of ground this month.
We have, and it's fun to finally celebrate some of the things that we've been doing. So thank you all for celebrating with us.
And that doesn't end the celebration. We have one more huge announcement. Some of you guys were the first wave of people who got to hear at our last Master Series. For the last 3 years, we have been honored to be recognized as a top workplace in the state of Oregon. So for 2020, 2021, and 2022. And why is this year special? Because this year, the Xperience Brokerage Network was named the #1 place to work in all of Oregon in the large business category of 500 or more. So thank you all for participating in the survey that we sent out, for giving us feedback, for making it such an exceptional place, an experiential place to work. We are committed to continuing to bring you that value and that culture into 2023, and a huge congratulations to us all.
Hey, thank you guys all for making this happen. Okay, we have some other exciting news to share. Leslie, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, so I saw somebody put in the chat, it's an abundant Q4, and yes, it is. We love that word. And one of the things that we announced last month was the return of our annual 4th quarter takeover competition. This originated in our Salem Capital City Market Center several years back, and we decided to make it a friendly and profitable competition across the network. So we launched the fourth quarter takeover on October 1st. And remember, this is going to celebrate and honor those of our family members that have taken a listing between October 1st and December 31st. We will be recognizing those, the leaderboard on a local level at each of your team meetings and on a network level every single Sunday on our This Week at XPN. And at the State of the Industry, we will give you the overall leaderboard. So week one results are in. So we just started and we just got our week one results as of 5 p.m. last night. Katie, pull up our leaderboard for us. Whoo, okay, here we go. Now, it's important to note that the only way you make the board is if you take a listing and you turn in your paperwork to command. You do not get recognized until that happens. So of our agents that have taken listings and uploaded their documents into command, we have Sunset Corridor as a market center in first place with 44% of our listings. Eugene Springfield in second place with 27.8% of the listings. Capital City in third place with 22.2%, and Southern Oregon in fourth place with 5.6% of our total listings taken in the first week. Now, Katie, the next slide is going to be unique for this State of the Industry. We will normally tell you who is in the lead with the most listings, but because we are so early in the competition, we wanted to celebrate everyone who had taken a listing so far this week. So we're going to give out recognition across the network. So remember, we have 4 categories in our fourth quarter takeover: rookie, solo, team, and group. Oh my gosh, Katie's like moving ahead.
Sorry.
So far, we do not have a rookie on the board. So if you are licensed in the last year, know that first place rookie category is still wide open. Special recognition to our solo category with Ben Mondragon Jr., Bill, Catherine, Jen, Karen, Linda, Susan, and Tori, who all took listings in this first week. And our team category, which is 2 sales agents, is Jana Fogg and Jill Woods. And in our group category, recognition for Arc Realty, Benson Group, Darren Darcy, the DeBose & Co., McKillian Group, and River and Fee. So congrats, you guys, for getting out there and taking those listings. Stay tuned for the actual leaderboard and the count on Sunday. It will be released with who took the #1 spot in each of those categories. All right, Katie, that's what I got for celebration. I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Awesome. Usually we do a ton of announcements in this meeting. I really only have one for you today, and it's not really an announcement because you already know about it, but I just wanted to remind everyone that our shift workshop with James Shaw is on December 12th, and it's important to get your tickets this month because prices will double on November 1st. So this is going to be an incredible event. And I realized that maybe not everybody knows who James Shaw is. He is quite the celebrity. However, I brought his bio because I thought, man, some of us may not know who James is. So here is who James Shaw is and why it's important and so special that he's coming to spend the day with us. So James is the Vice President of Learning for Keller Williams Realty International. So he oversees all education and all learning for the entire company, all 180,000 Keller Williams associates and all of the brokerages. So he has spent the last year devoted to helping top agents thrive in this market. Since joining KW in 2005, he has served as a top producing agent, a team leader, a bold coach, a MAPS coach, a Keller Williams University master faculty member, and a regional leader. Many of you probably actually know him as the creator of the Pivot Shift Ahead Facebook community. He hosts daily mastermind calls with agents across the world. With this purpose in mind, nearly 84,000 real estate professionals are members of Pivot Shift Ahead, with thousands attending his daily calls. Overall, they found ways to support each other, their clients, and their community during these unpredictable times. He's also one of the creators and founders of the Shift Workshop. So he knows this material better than maybe just as well as the writer, Gary Keller. And he goes around the country and speaks to this content and in rooms of 300, 400, 500 people. So we are thankful and lucky that we're going to bring him to an intimate setting. So you'll have a better one-on-one chance to talk with him and learn this content. But we are excited. I'll drop the link to sign up in the chat and put it in the wrap-up email. But it's important to get this content or to get your ticket purchased this month. Fair warning, before prices double.
Okay. We've got lots of questions and excitement in the chat, so I'm excited too. Where this one says Portland is our location. Do we have the actual location yet so people can start planning ahead?
Yeah, so we have confirmed a location. If you came to our last Master Series event, it's the same location. It's the Mill. It's right next to our Sunset Corridor office. However, I'm setting up a backup location. That's why it's not on here. If we reach max capacity at our Mill location, we will be pivoting to a bigger location at that time. So at this time, it's at the Mill. Should we sell out that location, we'll have a bigger space.
I love it. Let's fill it out, you guys. Let's fill it out. Yeah. I'm excited about that one. Okay, so Katie, thank you for that awesome announcement. Let's start getting into some content. Let's start talking about the market.
Leslie, actually, is it okay if we pivot and do things a little backwards?
Yeah,
I think okay with that?
Yep.
So in just going with the theme of shift, Leslie and I talked about how it would be great, and fourth quarter takeover, to hear about agents who are thriving in a shifting market and who are taking listings so that we can all learn from them week 1 of October or week 2 of October, so that we can take what's working right now and implement it into our business. So I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen so I can see all of your faces. And I've asked 3 amazing agents who are top listing agents across the state of Oregon, top listing agents in our network, to come on this call and just share with us, what are they doing to get these listings? So I'm excited to welcome to the call Mary Gilbert, Michael McKillian, and Charity Crosby. Are you guys all here? I think I see your faces. Say hi. Here. So you pop up. Okay, perfect. Thank you guys, one, for being here. I'm excited to spend some time and get to know you a little bit. Why don't we start with this? I know who you are, but why don't you tell everybody on this call and everybody who is going to listen on the replay, who are you? How long have you been in the business? Are you a solo broker? Do you have a team? And then what area do you service?
Cool. Well, I'll start. I'm Mary Gilbert, and we're with Keller Williams, Southern Oregon, Umpqua Valley. So our primary location is Umpqua Valley, surrounding Roseburg. That's all of Douglas County. Our community, the whole population of Douglas County is just, you guys, this is crazy, like just over 110,000 population. I started out as a solo agent in 96. I have a team now with 11 producing agents, and we have admin on our team. Yeah, my kids are all, I started real estate with 0 children. Now they're all adults and out of the house. So yeah, it's been my full-time career for quite a few years, almost 30 years.
I love that, Mary. I always say that this has been my biggest big girl job. So it sounds like similar. This is your big girl job that you've had since the beginning. I love it. Charity, what about you?
Hi. Well, I'm in the Eugene Springfield Market Center, and this is actually my 25th year. It's funny, I realized, boy, I started real estate when my daughter was 4. She just turned 29, and she's also a real estate broker. So I actually started with a team way back in the day, branched off through my own team, actually a couple different teams. Stepped back to be the team leader for our market center for a couple years. And then I really missed selling real estate. I mean, it truly is something I absolutely love to do. So I went back to doing that. And I started on, I went back on a smaller scale. Like I had an assistant, I'd bring in some agents to train them. And a couple years ago, and I'm going to be 50 here on Sunday, and I realized that I wanted to kind of simplify things. So I have never been per se like a solo agent. And so I started doing that, reduced my overhead, really set things up. And I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
I love that. Thank you for being here and thank you for sharing. Michael, what about you? Tell us about you. You are muted, first of all.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. So years in the business, I've been in the business in the Portland area for 28 years. Prior to that, I sold real estate down in Southern California. I've been a solar broker, small team, and my team consists right now of 3 admin, handle all the processing of the transactional paperwork, marketing, and then I have 4 licensed agents on my team. We cover from Salem up to Vancouver, and I enjoy being a team lead. This part of my life, I've been through a lot of coaching and training through my 28 years, and I'm really trying to train the next group of agents coming into the industry how to do it the right way.
Thank you. Thank you for giving to the next generation. I appreciate that. And thank you for being here. So let's jump into the nitty gritty and tell me, each of you, what are your lead generation sources for listings? Where do you find listings right now? And we'll start with Mary.
Great. I think being in the business, we had a concentrated focus. We actually did a lot of farming. And so becoming the market experts in those areas. This is something I've been doing since like 2013, 2014, but pick specific geographic areas that I wanted to focus on our team getting listings on. And then we farm that with postcards on like, hey, here's what's happened in your market this quarter. And within those neighborhoods, it also had a recap of what was happening in the rest of the county. And then we always had a call to action on find out what your home's worth in today's market. But I think, it's accumulation of marketing and how do you market yourself to attract those. And right now we get a ton of sign calls, like people see our signs everywhere. They're very distinguished signs. And then for every listing, we have at least 3 arrow signs guiding there. So sometimes when we have low listings, people are still saying, oh my gosh, I see your signs everywhere, because they're coming off the main traffic ways.
I love that. And what a quick tip right off the bat is, for every listing, don't just have the one for sale sign, have multiple signs that kind of give you more exposure. So how long did you farm before you started to see, because you said you've been doing this for a while, how long have you been farming before you started to see consistent results with that?
So that process does take longer. So for us, it was probably like 12 months, I could tell every time a postcard went out, we would immediately get the home valuation notices. So then I was like, oh, the postcard went out, because all in the same day, there'd be a flurry of people checking their home values. But I would say probably consistently over at least, you had to do it consistently. So 12 months, then we started having the people that were calling us. And it was great, because I even had people calling us that were like, hey, I just got your postcard in the mail. My listing expired with so-and-so, and I told her I was going to renew it with her, but I really like the information you're sending. And even in town, we still get people that go, I get your postcards, like financial advisors. When I sit down with my clients, I take my postcard to work so I can go over the real estate market with them.
I love that. And have you noticed any change in the leads that come in since the market has shifted a little bit in the last 6 months? Or even the last like 90 days?
So I mean, like farming is one lead source that we've done, but we get a ton of Sphere and Sphere referral and repeat business. I think it's just taking the people that are ready to sell. I mean, there's always going to be people that have a reason they need to sell now. Those are still going, like they're probably more anxious to get going because they want to beat the market. And then there's just people that need a little more guidance.
Yeah. So
And
you're
that's our
building
job
on
to
pipeline.
provide the information.
I love that. Charity, what about you? What are your sources of listings right now?
Actually, it's my sphere of influence and it's my database. When I joined Keller Williams in 2010, they said the 12-to-2 ratio. I learned more about my database, things like that. I actually tested that out in 2010 and it truly does work, you guys. It really does work. So, I have done everything over 25 years to get listings, billboards, everything, spent tons and tons of money. And I realized what I really love about real estate is the relationship portion of things. And I feel that that's where I succeed. And so that's what I use. And believe it or not, you guys, it's Facebook. In 2018, I ended up getting breast cancer. It was aggressive and, I went through a year of treatment and I posted everything on Facebook. I think sometimes we just want to tell everybody about our business and how great we're doing here. But to be honest with you, people want to do business with people that they like, trust, and can relate to. And my following just grew. I was having people come out of the work, past clients. Oh my gosh, Charity, I had breast cancer. And it just really started developing these relationships. I actually got a listing last month and this attorney in town said, I'm not a crazy person. I'm not stalking you, but I actually followed your breast cancer journey on Facebook. My mom passed from breast cancer. I would like to, I want to list my house. So it really is for me 100% relationship building. I no longer spend money on anything else. It is only for my sphere of influence. And these are people that I've met or who know me, somebody that gets something in the mail, or my past clients. And if you do a good job, people are always telling everybody else about you. And I truly believe that that's what every transaction is for. My goal with the transaction is not the commission check at the end, but who will they send me? Did they like me? I always remember like the Sally Fields, you love me or something. You like me. You really, really like me. That's the feeling I get when when I'm talking with sellers. So really, I have cut back expenses about 3.5 years ago, and even more so during COVID, and even more so as of this year. And it's been amazing. I'm making actually more money, and I'm not working as hard.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing your story with us. I love that. And it sounds like not only is it the typical database sphere of influence, but you've also created a community, and that community has allowed you to build a business around it.
Yeah. The other thing with Facebook, and this is going like to my years of family reunion and all the events, you get the cards and you stay in touch. And, ever since social media, it's so much easier to really feel like you know someone when maybe you really don't. You've met them once, or, you met them at a get together, but it really allows you to feel like you know someone. And it's lower this year, but typically between 25 and 30% of my business is referrals from outside agents. So I feel that is a very big referral source, and it's just keeping in contact. And when you meet people at, family reunion, don't just put them in your database, go find them on social media, start interacting with them, start building relationships.
Yeah, I love that. We're in a relationship driven business. That's relationships with everybody matter. So have your conversations changed at all in the last 90 days with taking listings, or the conversation you're having with potential sellers?
Absolutely. I mean, we all know that, I have a 3-page checklist for my listings. When I take one, I mean, I couldn't get past enter it into MLS. Okay. And I'd have, bazillion offers. So we all knew at that point, the last almost to over 2.5 years, that it didn't matter what we did, those listings are going to sell. So now my conversations, and now sometimes I'm going 3 times before we actually list. I'm really trying to get sellers in a good state of mind. I'm educating them, know your market in and out, know the type of people, the different areas. For instance, in Oregon, we passed all the laws for the tenants in 2019. I really studied up on that, and that has helped me immensely dealing with rental properties that my clients have had. But it's honestly just keeping them positive. You guys, I mean, when they saw their neighbor's house last year sell for 80,000 over, and now their house is sitting there for, 27 days, it's a struggle. And I think we just need to educate them ahead of time so they're not disappointed. And also keep them positive. I mean, tell them the wonderful things that are happening, the feedback, some of it's bad, some of it's good. Know how many views they're getting on MLS, on Zillow, Realtor.com. Be able to give them knowledge. That's what they want. They want knowledge and someone who, they feel is actually taking care of them and have their best interest at heart.
I love that. And one of the things I heard you say is, in what you're doing for your clients, is you're becoming educated. You know your numbers, you stay on top of the market, you look at the data so that you can have an educated conversation with your client. I love that. Michael, let's move on to you. Where are you getting listings right now?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Where we're at is back in July, I saw the market shifting. So I've been working with my team probably for the past 2-3 months about the importance of the systems we have, making sure that we're doing it consistently, and then being in the business as long as I have. It's also looking at the shift and what's going to happen in the industry, and starting to take some of the old systems that I had, maybe 7 years ago, 10 years ago, and starting training my agents on looking for leads through there. Like everybody's saying, past 2 years, you really hadn't had to do much except just get the listing and put it on. Where we've always been very systemized in our team. Most of our business, I would say, comes from 3 different areas. Our data bank, big in Buffini. So we basically send an item of value out through Buffini to our top 100 clients. We call them, we send out personal notes, and then we also do pop buys. So what we're looking at is high touch, and it's going to take some time because the market is shifting and people just don't feel that confident in what's going on out there. But from sending those out, I get information, back. People email me, thank you. I'm not big into Facebook just because I don't understand it. But going back to basics, working your sphere has always been good. Second thing is with open houses. We do a lot of open houses. If we can find a buyer through an open house, that's great. But a lot of times what we'll do is we'll find a buyer, but then they're also a seller. So, we're picking up listings through open houses. So we're getting the buyer, and then we're getting them to put their house on the market. So that's working out really well for us. And then I would say the last thing is I was running Boomtown, and I've just switched over to Brevity. We've got that up and running, I think, this month. So it's kind of a 3 leg stool. And for us, it's all about systems.
I love that. Michael, do you know what percentage comes from the database, the open houses, and through Brevity? Like, how do you break that down?
I would say probably database business coming in there is probably 60%. Open houses would be another 20%, and then brevity will be another 20%.
That's awesome. And have you noticed a change or have you changed the conversation or the frequency of open houses? Like, what's changed for those lead generation sources in the last 90 days?
I would say we've always done open houses, but now the thing is, it's going to be mandatory that you do, probably 4 to 6 open houses a month. Not because I want to see my agents spending more time out there, but the thing is if we can get leads through there, I'm helping my agents generate some leads, hopefully some transactions, and being able to close some transactions in the shifting market. Open houses are important. We also send out postcards when we get a listing. So we do just listed. We send another one out when it goes pending, and then we send another one out when it's sold. And again, when you have a listing, the amount of touches, not for your listing, but for the neighbors around there, it keeps them, seeing what you're doing and that you are going pending, and then you are, closing transactions. And then in Boomtown and Brevity, that I can't really tell you because we're making the shift to Brevity. We're bringing some new systems on that Ben put in there, which I hope will be beneficial also.
I love that. And you, like you had said, going back to or continuing to do those things that we learned about in Ignite, or we learned about when we first started the business, going back to the basics that got us to where we are going to get us through a shift in the market. Mm-hmm. So my next question for all of you is, what's the biggest objection you're hearing right now? And how are you handling that objection? Mary, do you want to go first? I'm going in a circle.
Sure. Yeah, I think the biggest objection that we're hearing right now, maybe is sellers, because I have a few of these people that want to maybe get that next house. They have a lot of equity in their current house and they want to get the next house, and then they're just not sure. It's like, man, well, I don't want to lose my 3% interest rate or my 4% interest rate. And so, so some of that, we're always going back to the pricing. Prices aren't going to get any lower. It's like you can still take your equity and apply it towards this next purchase. Prices aren't going to get lower. And then, we're offering them solutions like, how do they get a lower interest rate right now? Or do they evaluate maybe just buying it now if they can qualify it and then refinancing later when interest rates do come down? So there's a lot of different strategies around that, but just having solutions.
Yeah. Knowing their options and having solutions to them. I love that. Charity, what about you?
Very similar to Mary. I think one of the biggest, especially over, this COVID time, what will I buy? And I don't want to move twice. I can't go into an apartment. Sometimes, you've got huge families and it is impossible to get them into an apartment. We have very few rentals in our area, and it's nuts, but I've never seen anything like it. And, I do want to say I've been, in our market where we've had 20 months of inventory. You guys, can you imagine having 20 months of inventory, new agents? And that creates a whole nother problem over here. Okay. It takes you 4 months just to get through them all. So, things aren't turning over as fast. But one of the things I think a lot of times sellers are scared. They don't know what the process is. And I really sit down and I say, okay, what is your goal? And then we come up with some things so that they don't have to move twice. I will say the two biggest things that my sellers have done is they've done a cash out refi or, HELOC, and they've got money sitting there for a down payment on another home. They have the equity. So what we do is we wait, we're looking for a house. And then the second they're pending, we put their house on the market. Borrowing from their 401k or from retirement, they're going to pay it back as soon as their home sells. Now, we all know a home's going to sell. Okay. Maybe not for the exact price we want, But it's also explaining, a year ago, our appreciation for the previous 12 months was like 20%. Now I think we're down to 11%. However, that's still amazing appreciation. And I think you have to, with these sellers, explain just how fabulous that truly is. I mean, even 3 to 5% appreciation in a year is fabulous. At the end of the day, you can still get what you want. I always feel that it's a fabulous time to sell and a fabulous time to buy. As far as the interest rate, you can refi it, you can buy it down. What goes up must come down, and vice versa. Just like the prices, they're very high and they're going to come down. But we are still in a fabulous time to sell properties and to list your properties. I mean, if I had properties, I'd sell them all day long right now. So, I mean, my own homes. And during COVID, I sold high and I bought high. It's the way it is, and I think it's just explaining to your sellers that way.
Yeah, Charity, I love you said something that I think is an interesting perspective is the sellers right now may be looking at this much time and this much over this much time. So they may be looking at the last year. Oh no, I'm scared because of what they've seen. But you're saying over a bigger chunk of time, over 5 to 7 to 10 years, it's still going to be, and historically is still a great time to buy and sell real estate.
It is. And, I mean, a little tidbit on the buyers, you have, especially first-time home buyers, they're freaking out about this interest rate. Well, guess what? If you're renting, your interest rate's 100%. Okay. So in the big scheme of things, this really isn't that bad.
Yeah. Yep. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Michael, what about you? What objections are you seeing from sellers right now and how are you handling those?
Well, the first thing is we still have the sellers out there that feel their houses are worth this, where it's really worth that. So going in and talking to them, and we just want to be honest with them. We want to show them what the market is, what's been selling in their area, and educate them. And most of the time, they'll understand what we're looking for price wise, and we'll get them to come in. Maybe it'll be slightly a little higher than where I want to come out at, but I said, let's come out and let's in 10 days review it. And at that time, if we need to, let's make a price adjustment. So that's one of the things. The other thing is when I'm talking to sellers, I've got one seller that's moving to Austin. I've got another seller that's going to move out of his house and move into a trailer, kind of retire. And, they're like, we don't really need to sell right away. We don't mind. And if it takes us 3 months, I kind of explained to them that right now the inventory is low. You've got a good market between now and about the 20th of November. So let's get the house on the market now, see what happens. And then, the issue of them not wanting to be homeless, I still explain to them, what we were going through in the past, year or so, where we can go back and ask for a 60-day rent back. At this point, the seller may have to pay the 60-day rent back, where 6 months ago they wouldn't have had to done that. So I've been able to get both of them to commit to putting their house on the market next week. So I've getting through that. The other thing that what we do is a well-educated client, whether it's a buyer or seller, is the best client for us to work with. A system that I have and I've done for years, and we're getting a little more detailed on it, is on Mondays, my daughter Taryn, who runs the operation, she will send out a report that shows the Zillow views, RMLS views, a quick print of what's going on in their market, feedback from open houses that we've done, and then also agent showings. So we get that out on Mondays. We do use showing time for feedback from the agents, which is really good because it goes directly to my sellers as it comes to me, and then I'm not the one that has to always give them the bad news. They're getting to see it, so by the time I'm talking to them, they've already seen it just like I have. We get that out on Mondays. Wednesday, Sarah on my team actually calls each one of our listings to verify that they got the report, and then to find out if they have any questions about it. And then on Fridays, I will call each listing to touch base with them, let them know what we're doing for open houses. So what our sellers are getting is they're getting 3 touches each week from the team. And then by the time I'm calling on Friday, it's not like, well, what's been going on? It's already been, preset when I call that hopefully all their questions have been taken care of. I'll talk to them about lowering, where we're at. Should we lower a price? But having systems like that to keep the sellers kind of abreast on what's going on. Another thing that I'm running into is I do have some vacant properties out there, and they've been on the market for like 60 days. And the sellers are turning around and saying, well, you know what? I just think I'm going to take it off and rent the house. And at that point, I mean, they could do that, but I kind of explained to them, where we're at. It's probably better if you make a price adjustment. And I'm going to be talking to all my sellers, instead of doing a price adjustment, doing a 2-1 buy down on interest rates, and using that $5,000 to $15,000 price reduction. And instead of just giving it away, offering it to the buyers and putting it on the private remarks that we would do an interest rate buy down on that. So it's communication. I mean, we're big on communication, and we really don't have clients calling us. So I'd say those are the 2 biggest things: is keeping them up in touch, and then also keeping them positive that they don't want to take their houses off and then put it in a rental. So it's been working.
I love that. And the creativity, instead of doing a price adjustment, a 2-1 buy down, which is something that is super relevant right now. And one of the things that you said, and all of you said, but like, how come with the data, come with contribution of, it's not an opinion, but here's what the market is saying, and let's use that to make a really good decision. So thank you for saying that. I'm going to go out of order, you guys. I know I sent you a list of questions. I'm going to go out of order and ask, what skill have you had to acquire, or maybe reacquire, dust off the shelf and start to use again in the last 6 months or 90 days in this current market? Mary, do you want to go first?
Great. It's so funny that we're talking about skills, because that's exactly what we talked about with our team this morning. So the skills, we definitely, I think we all have skills. I think that we just don't always practice them all the time, especially in the last 4 years of the market. Like, we've just been like holding our hands out, like trying to juggle all the business that's coming our way. And now we definitely need skills. Like, our sellers need the guidance, our buyers need guidance. It's like, how do we become the negotiation strategist? Kind of like, I mean, everything that Charity and Michael touched on, right, is understanding the finance options, being able to give advice and guidance, and truly understanding your client, what your client is trying to accomplish. Because without understanding that, how are we going to provide the right options for them to make the best financial decision for them? So a lot of it is like, how, the sellers that we have, like understanding the market, being proactive with communication, and finding data that's relevant to them. Like, exactly what you're saying is like, how many people have looked at your property online? How are we pricing it? Because in one scenario, we used to price at the ceiling of the market. Now we're pricing at the floor of the market. And how do we explain that to the client, that we need to be the best listing out there as far as like presentation and appearance, what's the first impression it's making, and the best priced listing, and what that looks like in relation to the pool of buyers if they price higher than that. Like, are we being able to explain that visually to them? Because I think sometimes clients, it's just like any client or any person on your team or in your market center, everyone has a different preferred method of communication. So maybe we have to learn to tell the story 3 different ways instead of trying to just tell it one way.
I love that. Will you share real quick the tagline that you shared with me earlier?
Oh, Yeah. So what was the first real estate? Oh, okay. So yeah, order takers go broke. Skillionaires become millionaires.
I
So in
love
the
that.
last 4 or 5 uh, years, I feel like, I mean, I held myself accountable. I exposed myself to my team this morning because I said, I think we've all been order takers. Like we take things for granted. Like we have so much business that's just coming to us that we take it for granted. I'm going to be very transparent because I did lose out on a client in a listing. And it's because I did not use every single arsenal in my tool belt. And one of that would be sitting down with the client and doing a listing consult to explain everything, find out what maybe his objections were, or help him understand the things that he didn't know. So I didn't do everything. I wasn't being like the consultant. And so I exposed myself. It was painful because the first thing you want to do is blame that client, but really look in the mirror and it was like, I didn't sit down and be the consultant. So, but skillionaires become millionaires, and that's where we all have the opportunity in this market as we're shifting. Learn more skills, take more market share.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being transparent. Michael or Charity, do you have any other skills that you think you've acquired or dusted off the shelf in the last 90 days?
I think I'm over communicating right now. I mean, I don't think you can ever over communicate, but because sellers are just wanting their house to sell so fast, and when it's not, I actually just had a listing. It's kind of funny. In the beginning you talk to them, all the time. And then I'm still texting or calling my listings 2 to 3 times a week. Hey, just want to let you know, we haven't gotten this. Also trying to be creative. I think Michael, you said this. So I recently on one of my listings, it's a first time home buyer listing. Instead of lowering the price way down, we lowered a little bit, and now we're offering a $10,000 credit to a buyer's closing costs and prepaids. That has really picked up showings in the last few days. So also trying to be, creative and things like that. But I actually had a seller, he's like, oh my gosh, Charity, I haven't heard from you in 24 hours. I just wanted to make sure you're still alive. So you can't over communicate. And I think it really makes sellers feel good that, okay, yes, I didn't get a showing today or, the last couple of days. So every few days I'm reaching out, and sometimes it's just a quick text. Hey, but again, I've also educated them ahead of time. If we have no showings in 7 days, we've got a price issue, and, we need to adjust that. If we're getting nothing, after that in another week, and so it's really educating them ahead of time, which is not something I've had to do for several years. And also getting out the checklist, instead of stopping at RMLS, I'm doing the 3 pages now, again, because we really do need to work harder than we have been. I mean, at the end of the day, I love the saying, work smarter, not harder, but sometimes we truly do just need to work a little bit harder.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing. And thank you all 3 of you. Michael, will you put your quick tip in the chats so we can move on? I want to honor some time that we have for an economic update. Speaking of skills and speaking of being the most knowledgeable, I want to thank all 3 of you guys for sharing your knowledge and your expertise with all of us. So thank you, Mary and Charity and Michael, for being here. And I'm going to transition real quick. I told you guys that we had an economic update today. So we're going to end with a little bit of knowledge to help us go and have better conversations. So Chris Suarez, are you here?
I am.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
I'm not sure if you told everyone the story, but I am here.
I did not. You were living experientially. You experienced a flat tire. So a different type of experience.
It's been a journey this morning. So I'm somehow back at home because that's how far I got.
Well, we're thankful that you made it. And you have some economic information to share with us. Sorry, your face is so big on the screen. I'll move past that. Tell us a little bit about what's going on in the housing market.
Yeah, so let me give you a premise on what I'm sharing here. Every single month now, I get an analysis and an economic update from specifically the housing market from my partners over at Goldman Sachs. And so, obviously they have some of the greatest housing market economists in the world working on this. And every month I get a call and we talk a little bit about where we are and where we're going. And I thought it might be valuable for us to just get a good idea on where their projections are. Obviously, we can actually get this deck out if you want to spend a little bit more time with it later. But ultimately this month, Goldman has sort of adjusted their annual growth forecast this year and for next year. They have adjusted that down. They had previously said that we would end the year at about a 10.7% home price index appreciation for the country this year, and would be at about 0.7% increase in 2023. In their October update, they said we'll probably end this year at about a 7.5% increase from 2021 to 2022. We've already seen really all of that take place, and they think that we'll probably see a pullback of about 4.1% in 2023. So that's a big deviation from previous sort of expectations of the market. I'll give you just a quick rundown of why, and then we can flip through some graphs real quick, Katie, but I'll tell you when to push go there. The main premise for this downward revision is the expectation that mortgage rates are going to remain persistently high. And that's going to cause unsustainable levels of housing affordability, which our state is seeing today. It's going to continue to weigh on housing demand. Now, don't freak out about that. We expect mortgage rates probably to end the year somewhere at around, Goldman thinks they'll come back a little bit by the end of the year to about 6.5%. They think they'll be about 6.25% by the end of 2023. I'll share that I believe that might be low. A low expectation. I think that we're going to continue to see upward pressure on mortgage rates. Not that I'm smarter than Goldman, so take their word, not mine. But I think we'll hit 7.5. I think we might hit 7.75 before we end a year at 6.5 or 6.7 or 6.3 next year. So that is the reason why they're sort of adjusting their home price index moving forward. The headwind for higher mortgage rates has been recently seen in the data that we already saw in Case-Shiller's July report, right? It was the largest month-over-month decline since 2012 in that July Case-Shiller report. And Case-Shiller is always a few months behind, so that's what we're looking at. But interestingly enough, that shift was most pronounced in expensive West region markets such as San Diego and Seattle. It hit markets like Miami and Dallas. But what was interesting is sort of the Midwestern states aren't seeing that. So it's not going to be sort of the same across all markets. In fact, they believe that Boise and San Diego may experience a 20% price correction, which contributes to that 4% pullback in pricing index over the course of the year next year for us in the country. Now, even when accounting for sharp decrease in home sales due to higher mortgage rates, using the current month's supply of existing homes and new completed homes, there's little evidence of a supply-demand imbalance. Like, we're not going to experience that. The country isn't going to experience that. The other main key thing to think about is the risk of foreclosure. The risk of a foreclosure wave remains really remote. So, the reality is the buildup of home equity in recent years will provide sort of the needed insulation from foreclosures as a sort of a broad stroke countrywide conversation. And then lastly, loan to value ratios. Home values would need to fall by about 30% for a significant share of mortgages originated in 2021 and 2020 and even 2022 to fall underwater based on current loan to value ratios. So when we look at that, 90% of US mortgages right now are at a fixed rate with an average note rate of 3.6. And so, the reality is only 6% of active mortgages are currently floating, and that should provide some insulation from sort of a housing meltdown, which many of our clients are asking about or wondering about. So that's sort of the broad stroke. Let's flip through quickly, and Katie, I'll tell you where to stop and what I want to talk about perhaps. Oh, that's interesting. My screen didn't change. Did Katie freeze or is it me? Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. So, so this is at housing price appreciation, right? It's at 6% annualized, right? As you know, like I said before, Goldman expects that to be around 7.5%. But we can see where that appreciation rate has gone, right? When you look at annualized quarter-over-quarter price growth, what is the chart telling you? Like, we've been here before, and we're definitely seeing that show up again. You can turn. I'll give you a thumbs up when to turn. This is affordability. This is the real conversation to talk about, and this is what's sort of going to change buyer motivation. U.S. housing affordability is at the lowest level on record. So again, that is the reason why we expect some pullback in pricing. Now, affordability, in fact, you can actually move ahead, Katie. Affordability is going to be determined by income as well. Income actually is not our biggest issue in the country as a whole, but that affordability has led to what? Home buyer sentiment. We need to know this. We should be aware of this. It is deteriorating because of affordability, and so this is how keen people are on buying homes. You know, Charity, I loved what she said. Hey, like we love to say work smarter, but sometimes we just have to work harder, and you're gonna have to work harder this year because the sentiment for home buying isn't please, please, please sell me a home. We're gonna have to talk through the benefits of home buying, even in the market that we're at, and the long-term value of being a homeowner. Next. This is interesting, and you can almost skip through this, Katie, but that's just the number of young adults still living with parents. It's way high. It's way higher than historically, which means that a lot of those people have not moved out and formed households, even with high household formation. So the share of young adults living with parents remains elevated. We're at about 32.75, 32.75% of all young adults still living with parents. That could be our future buyer population if we educate them right. Next. Housing versus rental affordability. This is a good one for us to have in mind. I'm not putting this out to the world right now, but the reality is rental, your rent to income ratio is much lower than your mortgage payment to income ratio. And look at where we were. Like, the reason why it was so easy to sell a house, it was like a no-brainer, is because look at those years. Mortgage payments to income ratio had been lower than rental payments to income ratio for a very, very long time. So this is just to get us to understand, hey, why does it seem more difficult right now? What am I going to have to be up against? Next. Pending homes have fallen 18% since the start of 2022. We have seen that here in many of our markets. We're anywhere, depending on if you look at our local markets, anywhere between 15% down and 22% down. So what does that put us at? Probably as an average of 18% across the state of Oregon. So again, if we do nothing different, right? You heard from three masters. They are doing things differently than they were the last few years. If we do nothing different, expect your sales to be down by about 18%. Financial obligations, right? Debt payments, lease payments, property taxes relative to incomes. So this is good news. The reality is our debt to our income, our financial obligations relative to our incomes are historically low. When you look at that and you see that in the 80s and the 90s and even early 2000s, we were 4, 5, 6, 7% higher. 5, 6, 7% of our income was going to debt. That debt is much lower than it used to be because many of us have purchased things at lower interest rates. That will begin to creep up, and you're already seeing that creep up. But again, we have some runway there, right? Even if we added 3% of our income going to debt, we're still back to what our typical financial obligation ratio looks like. Close to 2% of mortgage properties have negative equity. This is down from 25% in 2011. So again, this is a good one to share. Oh, you know, Leslie, Jameson, Mary, Cindy, I'm not going to buy now. I think we're going to see this crash. A lot of foreclosures are going to show up. I'm going to look for those deals. Well, let me tell you where we were when foreclosures showed up last time, or short sales showed up last time. We were at 20%, 25% of mortgage properties having negative equity. We're at 2% across the country. Don't hold your breath there. Delinquency rates remain benign, right? So you'll see mortgage rates are actually the lowest of delinquency. You'll see credit card, student, HELOCs, auto, all those delinquency rates are higher than our mortgage delinquency rates. So we look really, really good from a health perspective in the housing market at this moment in time. And we'll take two more, Katie. The share of loans in foreclosures, again, here's the deal. It remains ridiculously low. We did see that tick up in Q1, right? Some slight change in economic data, and some people got real nervous about their cash. So should you be surprised if you see a short sale hit your MLS? Should you be surprised if you see a foreclosure hit your MLS? Probably not, but don't expect a flood of them. And lastly, unemployment and underemployment, right? So that means that people took jobs that are less than their previous income, or they're just unemployed. This will drive the ability to make those payments and keep our market healthy. We're at record lows. So you can see our unemployment rate there below where we've been historically. If we charted that out way before 2003, we were lower than that 4% margin as well. So, there's some good data here. There's some data that we need to be aware of. I'll make sure we have a few other charts in this as well when we send this out. But more than anything, just wanted to make sure that we kind of stayed in touch with what's going on in the market and stayed in touch with our monthly updates from some of our partners at Goldman. And our network just has the benefit of having that partnership, so we can see some real data, and we can go to our clients and say, hey, so we are partnered with Goldman. We get economic data from them. They're some of the best. Here are some of the things that I learned today, or some of the charts that I was listening to or looking at today that caused me to think about you and call you. So that's what I got.
Thank you, Chris. And thank you all of you for coming. We will get these slides out to you in the recap with Chris's words in the recording. And we look forward to see you guys all next month at State of the Industry. Bye, everyone.